Well, good morning, everybody. I'm saying good morning because it is Friday morning, so I'm running a day late. And I'm just wondering whether I can manage to get a quick message recorded before Mass begins in the church in a few minutes' time. Anyway, the first thing is everybody keeps telling me how much better I look and sound. And I must say I'm feeling really so much better and very grateful for all the support I've received in every way, both from the medics and from parishioners and friends. So thank you for all the goodwill and support and the prayer. Preparing some notes for the bulletin today, I was just reflecting again on St. Paul. You know, I kind of find St. Paul quite compelling reading, and I always think he must have been quite interested in sport, because he does refer to sport on a number of occasions in his letters. So that's where I picked up today, because as you know, sport has been a big part of my life. I think my father particularly sowed the seeds. He was very interested. He loved his rugby, Irish rugby, believe it or not. I was reared on Irish rugby. I think when I had to live with all these Celts from Scotland and Ireland, I became more English in the end. But I followed, the story of me following Sunderland from an early age, even though I lived in London. I loved my cricket. Surrey County Cricket Club was part and parcel of my life as a child. I don't know how many days I spent there. I think my mum was happy that I was not getting up to any mischief. I went off with my sandwiches and I had 6 hours entertainment. Well, more really, because you know there's the lunch interval and the tea interval. And Surrey were winning the championship every year when I was a little boy. So, and I stay kind of loving the opportunities of watching sport and keeping in touch. And yet there's so much disappointment goes with it, and we know in a sense it's important to keep things in perspective. Here in Liverpool at the moment, you know, there's our two teams are battling away, and amazingly Everton managed to beat Liverpool for the first time in God knows how many years on their own ground at Goodison the other night, which has pretty well ensured their safety. But of course, from the Liverpool point of view, has destroyed their hopes of, I think, well, perhaps not completely, but of winning the Premiership for the last time for Mr. Klopp. And there are these ups and downs for all of us with sport. So I just wrote a little thing, and I think perhaps just to share some of it with you. I've said that, you know, many of us, sport is an important part of our lives. We follow football or cricket or rugby or whatever, and then, you know, very often the big events like the Olympics and you know, the big golf championships and the tennis when it goes to Wimbledon. I remember as a child, you know, when Wimbledon was on, we all turned to tennis. On Clapham Common, we started our first gentle footsteps, trying to learn how to play tennis. In fact, I'm quite proud of the fact that I never had a professional tennis lesson, but learned to manage, and until fairly recently was still managing to play a bit of geriatric tennis. Well, perhaps I shouldn't say that, because some of the people I was playing with weren't geriatrics, but I was grateful for the opportunity and still hope maybe to get back on the tennis court. But anyway, I was reflecting on that, and particularly on St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, where he talks about our spiritual lives being compared to runners at the stadium and the fighters at the games, all going into strict training to win a wreath that will wither away. And then, of course, he's reminding us that we're all striving for a prize that we can all win, the prize that Jesus has promised us if we get our lives in order. Well, I realise you're not all sport orientated, but I think the message is easily understood. And I realise that I, for one, am now being reminded by the Lord to get my life in some sort of order. And one thing that did occur to me, the other day, Bishop Ralph and Archbishop Malcolm were on their way back from the Bishop's retreat down at Buckfast Abbey, down in the West Country. And I thought to myself, you know, I haven't made a proper retreat for quite some time, and yet our rule states that we must make an annual retreat as Redemptorists and look after our spiritual lives. So that is something I certainly intend to get organised again. There's a tendency just to say there's just too much on, and there can't be. And it reminded me of a wonderful reflection that we have on the Feast of St. Francis de Sales. That's on the 24th of January. Francis de Sales was Bishop of Geneva way back in the 16th and 17th century. He lived 1567 to 1623. And he wrote this: "The practice of devotion must differ for the gentleman and the artisan, the servant and the prince, for the widow, the young girl or wife. Further, it must be adapted to their particular strength, circumstances, and duties. Is the solitary life of the Carthusian suited to a bishop? Should those who are married practice the poverty of a Capuchin? Franciscan, of course. So over to you, I say. Work out what is best for you, and I will try to work out how to lead a more balanced and fruitful life as well. So that's my little reflection for this week. One or two other messages coming through. We did lose one of our wonderful priests, 90-year-old Father George Webster, lived in the Little Sisters of the Poor in London, where my sister is, and they'd become very good friends, and I know my sister will miss him enormously, as will all of us, and the sisters and the residents at St. Peter's at the Oval. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get to his funeral. I was popped to see him when I was down there and saw my sister. So we're constantly confronted with death in the midst of life, aren't we? And yet we go back confident that these good people are now safely in the hands of the Lord. So we entrust Father George Webster and all our friends and relatives who died. And I can hear well, it's the Regina Caeli at this time of the year ringing, so the Mass is about to begin. So I'll leave you with that message. Thank you again for all the good will and the good messages, and let's continue to strive to be faithful to the Lord in every way, begging the prayers of Our Lady and of all our patron saints. God bless you.